Financial mediation, or sometimes known as divorce mediation, is very similar to the other types of mediation, except for one main difference. When people come to mediation surrounding finances, so when we talk about finances, we're talking about property, assets, savings, anything over £500, and any pensions, any other liabilities or debts that either of you may have. And essentially what we're looking to try and do is to help you to find a way forward as to how to divide and share the assets that are considered marital. So sometimes people find it difficult to agree on how things might be shared, and there may be other complexities, for example in relation to inheritance and pre-marriage assets. So within the family mediation process, the first step after the initial mediation information assessment meeting is for each of you to complete a financial disclosure booklet. That's if you haven't already completed the Form E with your solicitors. During the first mediation session, we ask you to bring those financial disclosure booklets or the Form E to the session, and then we work through the disclosure process. Now, this is really critical to the mediation process, because if you want to have any arrangements that you reach in mediation made legally binding, you must make a full and frank disclosure of your financial affairs. Failure to do so could mean any arrangements that you reach are put aside at a later date by the court. Therefore, it's vital that you make sure that you disclose everything that you have, including debts and liabilities and any assets over £500 as part of the disclosure process. We will also ask that you provide evidence to your ex-partner as part of the process, and we will manage the exchange during the first session. It's really helpful to know that if you do this process through the solicitors, it can take several months. Doing the disclosure process through mediation takes approximately 45 minutes to 1 hour. As you can imagine, that's a huge financial saving, but it also saves a lot of time and a lot of stress for everyone involved. Once you've undertaken the financial disclosure as part of the first session, we always try to ensure there's enough time set aside to start to discuss the options. So it's important as a mediator to make sure that you each have the opportunity to put forward any proposals that you might have before we start, and then we'll explore each of those options in turn. During the session, we might also go on to look at what the other options or other alternatives might be. By the end of the first joint session, there will be a number of tasks usually for each of you to complete, and we will send you away to complete those. And that could well be as straightforward as ensuring that you have your pension information, ensuring that you have an understanding as to your borrowing capacity, so how much you can afford to borrow, and making sure that any house valuations or any assets have been recorded accurately. During the second session, we should therefore be in a better position with all of the information out in the open and transparent to be able to then further explore the options that have been considered during the first session, alongside any new information around pensions and borrowing capacity. We're then in a position to then explore each of those options in turn and to help you both to see whether or not a mutually agreeable way forward can be found. Whilst finance mediation isn't necessarily an easy process, what we can assure you is that if you mediate with Children First Mediation around finances, that you will be in safe hands. All of our mediators are fully qualified to conduct financial mediation, and several of our mediators are former solicitors. Whilst mediators are not allowed to give legal advice, what they are able to give is information and guidance around the options and around how a court might choose to deal with things. You can have the arrangements you reach in mediation made legally binding by making an application to court for a consent order. It's important to know, if you're planning to get divorced, you will need to have your financial settlement made legally binding by the court. If you choose not to do that, it means that you're not protected in the future if your ex-partner should choose to come back and ask for further funds. As part of the mediation process, it's our job as mediators to reality test and help you to really think through the practicalities of any agreements that you're considering making. The arrangements that you reach need to be ones that you can each live with. There's no happy outcome at the end of mediation, but what there is, hopefully, is a way forward that you can each live with, so that there is sufficient available resources to be able to home you both and to be able to support any children of the marriage.